So recording. So
Get this.
good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first episode, the debut of Top Deck Radio, the spiritual successor to the General's Tent. When Function and Mokog both had real life things that took them away from being able to stream Hex as much. I really love the idea of the weekly talk show format to go through all things Hex, and I didn't want to see that fade out. So kind of started poking around a little bit, just thinking about, hey, what could I do to revive this? And I reached out to Hex Manifesto here, my partner in crime going forward to this, and said, hey, I'd like to do a show. I think you'd be a great co-host. Do you want in? And it was very quick and easy, yes. But so Manifesto making your Hex channel debut tonight. In case people have not seen you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, for starters, they call me the quick and easy yes. No. Your words, not mine. Hello, guys. I'm Hex Manifesto, also known as Manifesto or Manny. I have been playing Hex since the beginning. I'm a Kickstarter backer. One of my biggest regrets was not trying to find more money to back as a Grand King instead of just a King backer. It haunts me to this day every time I get something in PvE, and I know it could be doubles.
Grand King.
Huh?
Grand King, just rubbing
Grand
salt
King.
in the wound.
Yeah, I know you are. I have been streaming now for 5 months hard. I did a little bit of streaming back before, but it wasn't like with a cam or with the kind of setup we have now. I would just kind of basically just screen share, let people watch me play. But about 5 months ago, well, before that, I guess I was known in the community as RPS Chef. If anyone recognizes that name, it's a throwback. Hung around Neo's channel and Magic Fish Mom, if you remember him, Magic Fish Mom's channel. And then I was a chef then, and I basically had no time. Like, my whole life was just work. And about a year ago, I quit that life and started working in the corporate life, and that gave me all this free time. I decided I was going to save up some money, buy some broadcasting equipment, and actually kind of do this thing. So for the last 5 months now, I've been seriously streaming with like a setup and a schedule, and it's been a blast. I have met even more people in this wonderful community. I hopefully had a positive impact on the Hex and the streamer community, and yeah. And here we are today. I'm also the co-caster for the Sharks Sworn Showdown with me and Marty Punker, so you may have seen me over there on Friday nights. And yeah, that's me.
Any announcements you want to make on that, or do you want to save that for later in the show?
I mean, we can save that for later in the show. Maybe that
right.
can be a community announcement.
And most people probably know who I am, but just in case the General's Tent type audience and the podcast audience does not overlap with what I've been doing on Dungeon Masters of Entrath, I am Thrawn. I've also been with Hex since the very beginning, and for the last 14 months or so, I have been streaming at least once a week a game show called Dungeon Masters of Entrath, where I make fun, kind of casual, kitchen table style decks for people to challenge in the name of winning some prizes from me. For the first 8 or 9 months or so, I think, of the show's life, I was doing that on my own personal channel. And then I pitched myself to the official channel as a show for them, and they liked what I was doing, so they picked me up. And so now I'm doing it 2 nights a week instead of one. One night on the official channel, which will be tomorrow night, and then on Wednesdays I still do it on my personal channel, just because I can have a little bit more, laid back vibe on my personal channel, and it's a little bit more anything goes in terms of how we do things. But in terms of Top Deck Radio, Manifesto, all the things you could have done with your life on a Monday night, what convinced you that you wanted to, what interested you about doing a show like this and signing on to Talk Hex one night a week?
Honestly, when you reached out to me, I was hammered. I was not in a good place. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the reason I mean, obviously we had a little. It wasn't just of course I'll do it. We had a little discussion.
Your camera
but mainly,
froze on me, by the way.
The camera froze?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Did you minimize the thing?
Nope.
Oh, there it goes.
Nope. I don't know what it is, but anyway.
Google. Google doesn't have enough money to make stuff work. Well, personally, I did not know. I mean, I knew Function had his thriving business going, and I assumed that would eventually dig into his Hex time, sooner or later, because I've done small business startups, and it's everything. You got to put everything into it. But I respect the crap out of those guys, and I watched the General's Tent at least passively, or like the next day at work or something for forever. To see it just go off the air and no one try to take its place, or at least try to fill those shoes, would just be a travesty in my mind. So that's why I'm here, hoping that we can just do at least as much, as not, if not more, for the Hex community.
Yep.
By giving people a platform to ask us questions, and us be a voice of the people, and try to be a level-headed voice for Hex back. It's all anyone can really ask for nowadays, right?
Yep. And when I was exchanging messages with Mocog about wanting to do this in Function as well, because I didn't want to feel like I was just kind of throwing out their work, or stepping on anybody's toes by the second they're done pouncing and going, well, no, I'm going to do it. I wanted to make sure they were cool with it, and they were. But Mocog said, don't make this Thrawn brings you the General's Tent. Find a way to make it new, find a way to involve the concept, and hopefully that's what we're going to do. What do you, Manifesto, what do you kind of see as our vision as to what we're doing going forward, and how we can make ourselves different than our predecessor?
I think the main thing that I want to do is just be able to. I hate the forums. I'll just say that. I'm not a big, and not like the Hex forums, like forums in general. I don't think anonymity, not anonymity, but I don't think level-headed voices get heard, or level-headed voices are what's used when you can type behind a computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
So not all, but I would say a fair majority of forums eventually delve into who can be the biggest guy on the internet, and that might push a lot of people away from forums. And unfortunately, there's lots of good information on forums and sites that are the same, that people may not get that information because they've been pushed away. I'm shrinking, according to Hacky.
It was I resized your camera. It was driving me nuts the way I had you set up. You were hiding the orc's face, so I had to fix that.
All right, and then to improve, I think everything can be improved. I just think you just gotta try new stuff. Like some of the ideas we have, and some of them might fail, and some people might love some things, and you take the good, you take the bad, and that's the facts of life.
And we're always up for feedback too. So if we have any recurring bits that you think are total clunkers, constructive criticism, not you guys suck, but if there's things you don't like, let us know. If there's things you think we could do, we're always open for more suggestions there.
Even a good "you guys suck" works for me. 3 "you guys sucks," and we're pretty much sure that segment should get hacked.
Yeah, probably. I guess that there goes my my singing segments where I sing you the news. I'm kidding. I wouldn't subject that on my worst enemy. Hacky says
you can tell Thrawn is playing with his paper.
Okay, is my mic really sensitive to that?
He knows. He knows it's coming.
Yeah,
so what's up first?
Well,
what's up first tonight?
We, keeping with the General's Tent tradition, kind of some of the basic ordering of events, was going to start with the one item of community news I really picked out. And look at this. Ooh, scene change. Look at that. Slick. Wanted to bring up Hex PvP tools. I don't see the notice on screen anymore, but Fred, who runs this site, had put out a notice, kind of explained to the community, hey, this site isn't free. Fred has been spending $150 a month out of his own pocket to keep this site running for the benefit of all of us, that we have a great place to go and see the ladder meta, see tournament results, find good decks. Like there's an enormous amount of data here, and Fred has basically been spending enough money out of his pocket. He could have gone into the Hex store and bought, 75 packs a month at full retail price. That he's just not spending that money there because he's giving us this incredible tool. And nobody's resources are infinite. So he posted out notice, hey, if this is something you like, consider chipping in and helping out, because I would assume he can't afford to do that forever. So thankfully he has met his donation goal for the month up here. If this is a site that you really like, consider chipping in. A buck here, a buck there. Every bit helps. There's PayPal there. He also has a Patreon set up, which is nice for kind of automatic recurring payments. So if you want to chip him a $5 every month, you can. You don't even have to think about it. Full disclosure, I have not thrown him money yet, but once I have some of my debts paid off and I have more bandwidth in my budget within the next couple months, I'm going to be Winmo slamming that become a patron button, because he definitely has earned it.
Oh yeah, I use Hex PvP tools every single day. I don't think there's a morning that I eat my banana and munch on some Raisin Bran Crunch that I am not bringing up Hex PvP tools and looking at, even if it's just looking at what was played overnight, like the matches that were just played overnight on the ladder. I mean, every morning after a tournament meta, every morning, or now it's tournament meta. It used to be history. I guess it still is history. I check both now. You just have more to check. There's just more to do. And like you said, I mean, I didn't even think it was that much. I know some people who host things like this for other games, other stuff, who I know the cost can be high, but I had no idea it was that much. That's a lot. That's more than I spend on Hex a month, probably, to be honest. Even, I mean, it's a good chunk of money.
Yep. So yeah, I just wanted to give Fred the shout out, because it's never fun. It's never fun having to kind of put the proverbial hat in hand a little bit and say, hey, this isn't free. I do need some support to keep this working. So I'm happy to shill for Fred so he doesn't have to as much, because this is a valuable community service that he's put together.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to say on PvP tools before we move over to official news?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Hex. Fred needs our help. We should help. That's just how the community should be.
Help a brother out.
Yep.
And then let me see. I don't have the Hex main site up, so I'm going to fix that here. But then for official news, some of these are real quick hit, FYIs for the community, because people probably know some of this stuff. But the PvE event, the Feast of Abundance.
Skip the good stuff. Go down to that.
Oh, we'll get back. We'll get back to the good stuff. But the Feast of Abundance PvE event, which has also been rewarding Grapes of Wrath, it is going to come to an end this Friday, April 27th, 10:59 Pacific, which is noon Central for me, 1 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. If you still need any of the Beasts of Abundance or their equipment, you have the rest of the working week to fill out your playset,
which I highly recommend getting if you're a PvE player.
Have you done all of these yet, or not bothered?
Yes, I have, because the Wardens have put together a challenge at the beginning of the event that someone found out Beast of Abundance combined with what's it called? Combustion.
Spontaneous combustion.
Spontaneous combustion. Thank you. It's a Ruby 2 cost that you sacrifice a troop and you deal damage equal to that troop's toughness or power.
Mm-hmm.
But the boots on Spontaneous Combustion reads that you also gain that many temporary resources. So that's a turn 1 Beast of Abundance, turn 2 Spontaneous Combustion, 8 resources to play with. So that's just ridiculous.
Seems good. Play out the rest
there
of
was, yeah, I played last Wednesday a whole FRA with one of the builds. It's a gimmicky little trick, but I mean, even getting it on 3 or 4, you're still way ahead of the curve. Like you can play out two wildfires on turn 2. Like, super strong. So anyone who likes to do fun little decks like that in the PvE world, highly recommend picking up the Beast of Abundance, or at least grinding for them if you don't want to spend money on them. Their equipment's a little lackluster, but we might find another deck that it works in.
Yeah.
But that little gimmicky deck is super fun.
I need to get back in that. I think I'm at 3 out of 4 for the Beast, and I still don't have the rare equipment because there was one night where I got the uncommon equipment 5 times in a row, and I just kind of rage quit at that point.
Yeah, I think I got my playset of Beast. I don't know if I got both the equipment because, like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of immediate in-your-face use for them. But if I need them in the future, I'll probably just pick them up for a couple gold. I think I got my playset of Wraths too.
I love how how this Beast has like the kind of, it looks to me like the Hawaiian or beach party shirt on.
He looks like what's his name from Jurassic Park? Ned? No, not Ned.
Dennis Nedry.
Dennis, yeah.
Yeah, this guy was a lazy Entrathian office worker, and his coworkers got pissed off at him and surreptitiously gave him a potion that turned him into that beast.
Oh, that's mean. What if he was just really depressed from like a bad breakup or something? He just ate himself into that.
You know, he's eating his feelings.
Yeah,
that works too. Like how we both have dark stories for his origin. Yeah, so that is that on the front. Then, since this is on the same page, we have a new collector's deck.
The hotness, if you will, the irony of that statement, because she's cold.
She's cold as ice.
But I mean, I already picked up a pack for the sleeves, and I'm thinking about getting another one just so I have 2 of the animated alternate arts. It's just gorgeous. I love it. And I didn't have any Eyes of the Hearts before, so it's like, do I pick up a $14 to $16 Eyes of the Heart off the auction house, or I just pay the extra couple bucks to get the really, really nice one?
The anime waifu sleeves.
Yeah.
So yeah, with if you
quit lingering, Thrawn. We got it. We got it.
If you have not bought a collector's deck before, 2,000 platinum, or basically $20. Comes with these 3 alternate art cards: the Eyes of the Heart, alternate art High Joltage, and alternate art Unhenge, which I had forgotten what that card even did because I don't think I ever used it in a deck. But
it's actually in an elemental deck right now on the ladder. In a ruby sapphire aggro deck.
So yeah, this is art wise, I think this is one of the better decks they've done.
Also, and I don't know if you noticed this, and I'm pretty sure the last deck didn't have it. I'm for certain all the other decks didn't have it, but I'm not 100% on the Lord Blightbark. This is the first collector's deck to have 2 legendaries in it, because it also has Elixir in it as well.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So they definitely. I mean, not that Elixir is a high number plat card right now, but
if you didn't,
just saying they did add it a little bit.
It's a little extra something.
Yeah, it's a little extra something.
And then we won't talk about the Immortal Championship.
Happy's got the quips tonight already. Wait, what are we not talking about?
We're going to come back to, there was tournament talk in that update, but we're going to skip that because we're going to be talking about tournaments for a while. So
there was also something else at the bottom.
Oh, well, yeah, but
I know. It was a joke.
All right, fine.
It was us.
Manifesto needs
to stroke it.
His manifesto needs his ego stroked, everybody. Hey, look, what's this? This Top Deck Radio thing. Hey, we got mentioned in the Friday update. Hey,
we aren't all as cool as Thrawn to already have a show on the main page or on the main channel. So
there you go.
It was touching to me. I literally, as soon as the announcement went out, I sent Thrawn the screenshot of it. He's like, "Yeah, I know." I was like,
"Oh yeah, I talked to Dino about that days ago. I knew that was coming."
He popped every balloon in my balloon.
But I'm glad you're excited.
Bunch.
Yeah,
all right, so what are we on to? I lost my piece of paper.
I never have insider knowledge except for anything that directly pertains to me in streaming, so that moment was kind of fun. Like, oh yeah, I already know. So this is old news because this was posted on April 6th, but I wanted to hit it really quick because I don't think there was a general's tent that ever mentioned it. When the next set comes out, there is going to be a rotation in Standard, and a couple sets are dropping into Immortal.
What's up,
So
Nazi?
all of the reward art for the current set of leveling cards won't be playable in standard anymore. These are all going to be immortal cards. So they are going to be refreshing the level up rewards, and they're going to be throwing in some new art in there. They have not announced what that is going to be, but everybody's going to be able to continue leveling. And if you're already at level 100, they are going to be raising things so that you can now get to level 200. Basically, it sounds like they're doing a copy paste for the amount of experience and everything earned from level 100 to 200. They're just adding numbers on it. So it's basically like, completing a lap and then starting from the beginning of the treadmill again, just with higher numbers.
Here's to hoping Brilliant Annihilix is the new rare. I wouldn't be upset about that. I personally, they announced this the day I hit 71, so I have not accepted a reward since then, and I don't think I will. I think I'm just gonna wait for the rollover and just take it all in a big chunk and just get all the new stuff. Because I already have 2 Underworld Crusaders and I already have 2 of the alternate art Dark Hearts, so I don't really need them again.
I'm at level 86, so I'm kind of torn between pushing for it to get myself Dark Hearts or just saying nah, because I already have a playset of the basics, and then wait for whatever the next thing is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair to bring it up. I know I did actually see someone post in the forums about this like just yesterday or over the weekend that didn't know when the things were going to rotate. So
right, so it was
yeah, it's not. If you missed this little news blurb, you probably didn't hear.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of bring that up. The whole article is 1, 2, 3, 4 rows down, but still on the front page of hextcg.com. If you want to review it and read through their explanations on how they set things up and why they're doing things the way they are doing that in more detail. But otherwise, for tournament talk, or for official news, we had tournament talk. I don't have a good link for this because these are last week's Clash and Bash results.
They've been doing them on Wednesdays now, right? Yeah. Wednesdays or Tuesdays?
I think it's Tuesdays. April 18th is that's a Wednesday.
Suck it.
But so we don't have an official article to link to, so I'll just go back to our talking heads mode here. But
actually, what you could do? You could pull up Hex PvP tools and look at the top 8 of those, since that kind of directly goes into what we're talking, or what the main thing I want to talk about is, at least.
I like the way you think. So remember that site I told you Fred needs some money to help finance? Well, look here at it being
history.
History's probably better than this, right?
Yeah.
Now we want Bash, and we want the April 21st edition. Okay, and what do you want me looking at within this list here?
I mean, you can just look at like the top, like that. That's fine.
So
tell me what jumps out at you.
Our top 8 players. This is not the final. This is not the final round. This is
just Swiss.
This is the Swiss portions we're looking at here. But we had Metronomy, Kara, Bottle Gnomes, Ali Eldrazi, Gallowin, Tria, all names I recognize pretty well. Deranged Hermit, Slim Heavens. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 Lady Avalanche, if I'm counting correctly, 2 Bardock, and 2 Blackberry Knights. There's only 3 different champions in the top 8.
Yeah, and I'd like to advert your eyes to 10 through 14th also.
Lady Avalanche, Lady Avalanche, Lady Avalanche, Lady Avalanche, Lady Avalanche. We have a rogue at 15, features running Blue Sparrow. We have a couple.
Way to go, Future!
And then things get more interesting when you go a little bit further down the list.
To the losses and drops, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
drop. Yeah, people giving up. But, oh yeah, you're right. Anybody who cracks like 3-4 wins, but yeah. So, Lady Avalanche, she came in like a wrecking ball.
Is ridiculous, like, and I'm not saying. I mean, we could talk about this for literally hours, but it's not. I mean, the thing it really isn't even that. Pull up keep this in mind. Now pull up is the Immortal Championship also in here?
Probably. But maybe not on this page because it
Maybe
only
not.
happens.
Oh, there it is.
Here it is,
Okay.
Immortal Championship. Okay, so this is Lady Avalanche was the lone 6-0. Uzu, Yodel, Sharpshooter Sahaz, Angus, Nineveh.
It's not as
Lady
prevalent,
Avalanche.
but for an Immortal series, you have 3 people in the top 8 running Lady Avalanche, 2 of which are actually momentum decks. Like almost standard Diamond Wild momentum decks. And the ending was actually pretty amazing. Sadistic and I think Sadistic came back from 2 life to win the final round. It was pretty fun to watch. I watched Hacky Street or cast that. No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how prevalent Lady Avalanche is across the board in all of it. In Constructed, in Immortal. I mean, I don't know about the Clash, but I'm betting there's at least a couple of them in there too. Though probably not as many as Blackberry Knight.
I don't think there can be in the Clash because Avalanche was set 8. Yeah, so you can't find her in Limited, and if you do, you go, somebody hacked the game.
And on top of that, which I guess kind of segues into the next little bit, is that almost all of those cards were running at least one bugged card.
Yep.
And they were still managed to overcome natural variants, their known additional variants, and top 8. It's just a lot. I don't even play Momentum, and it's just like kind of wow to me.
At least in this case, the Lady Avalanche decks are different because one's straight mono wild, the other's probably the pretty classic. Look at Sadistic's deck.
It is pretty close. It's got the Runeers, but I mean,
yep, Runeer's too good not to use if you're in wild.
Oh yeah,
Martyr,
but you got the Brilliance, you got the Pathfinders,
Howling Brave. Yep. So there's a lot of power in that deck.
But really, it's the bigger one is definitely in the Bash, and it's just, I think Battle Shoppers Meta Monday, what's it called? It's not a forum post. It's just a blog post, really. No, not like that. Like Battle Shop, the guy who runs Battle Shop actually puts out a Monday blog every Monday that talks about the meta over the weekend.
Right.
And it's just, he hit the nail pretty much on the head talking about it. It's just like, just that deck is just, I mean, it's not wrong to play. It's just, it's so good. And it sideboards so well that it's really hard to justify not playing it.
Yeah. If you're gonna run into a tournament, I guess the first thought in your mind is, if you're not playing Momentum, it's how do I beat Momentum?
Yeah.
Because you know,
and if your deck can't do better than 50% against Momentum or Sugar Rush, you probably shouldn't play it. Like, I mean, you have to have like god tier dodge abilities to not hit those 2 decks playing through seven rounds in a Bash.
Mm-hmm. And as you had noted earlier, like pretty much all of the Momentum decks as well as the Sugar Rush decks were all running Palm of Granite, which is still bugged. And I'll let you kind of speak to that before I say anything. But did you have thoughts on the nature of running?
I mean,
with that particular card.
Obviously, a lot of people have thoughts about what happened over the weekend. Pretty sure most people saw the tweet and the Reddit post and the responses and the forum post. Was there a forum post too? I know there was at least a Reddit post and a tweet. I don't remember if there was actual.
I think the forums were spared for once.
Okay. So here is my take. I'm just going to talk, and then I'm going to read chat, and then I will respond to chat. But from a person who doesn't play Momentum, so I don't have a dog in this fight at all. I've never played Momentum. I don't have the cards to play. I think I still only have one Pathfinder. I cannot play Momentum. So Nothing I say benefits me whatsoever. On the one hand, we'll go on what I think should happen in these cases first. I think Hex TCG cannot go 3 weeks with a card just on the what's it called, the known issues list, and still have it playable in a tournament. I 100% agree with that. On the other hand, I know bugs happen. It's a digital game. Codes break. It's not fun to have to find them and fix them. It can take time. It cannot take time. I feel like if a bug is found in a week, like a week of whatever, like between a Monday through Friday, that bug has to go up on the known issues list first off, right? Like it has to be communicated to the community as on that list. Us as competitive, we're competitive players. Like the people who play in these bashes, we're putting our own money to try to make money. So we are competitive players. We're giving our own stuff to try to win these things. So it's a little on us to check those. And if we find a card that we're playing that's bugged, we should take it out of our decks and not play it. Then, after that weekend, if that bug is still not fixed, that card needs to just be banned from tournaments. Like, it just has to be removed. Because we can't go week after week not knowing whether it's going to be fixed or having to check that list every time. It's just that simple. The list is a short-term solution. We have to be responsible as much as they have to be responsible to check that list before major tournaments. They should also be responsible to tweet that they've found this bug or post that they found this bug and here it is on the list now. And then after that, because if they don't ban it, basically you can do what happened this week. Multiple people played Pomegranate. Multiple people also knew that card was already bugged for 2 weeks. So, right. And here you go, Thrawn. If you're
oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
If you're purposely taking a card into the bash that you know is bugged, you are basically picking the gun that you know doesn't shoot to go into your high noon draw with. Like, you're adding your own variants to a game that already has variants on purpose. So, can you blame Hex completely? Like, it's one thing if you don't know the bug exists, but if you know the bug exists and then you play the card anyway, is that entirely their fault?
Yeah, it's kind of a game of, if you're taking a card you know is bugged into a tournament, or where it may work exactly as intended or it may not work exactly as intended and may grab the same resource twice, you're kind of playing a game of Russian roulette with yourself. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not going to. But for as high a caliber a card as this is, there's, because it's used in so many relevant meta decks right now, it's not a good look to have that bugged as long as it has been. It sounds like there's some complexity to the bug, or figuring out why it's doing what it's doing and fixing that. Mm-hmm. And that is also a little bit concerning, because it worked fine for a long time, and it worked fine when Doombringer came out. If I recall correctly, it broke sometime during like a hot fix or a patch they were doing to fix other issues.
Yeah.
And the game is only going to get more complex as more sets get added, as there's more potential interactions. So hopefully whatever's going on behind the scenes, they're able to learn from the nature of what broke here, and maybe kind of put some safeguards in place to prevent something like that from happening again, because it's not good to introduce bugs from a fix that then takes subsequent weeks to fix. That's a lot of man hours that you're spending on that, which it needs to be done, but that's time that's not spent on other bug fixes, on other features, on anything else you could be doing with your time. But
yes, Hacky. I mean, you're right. It's both. We do want the problem actually fixed from this technical standpoint, but if it can't be fixed, and I think a week is enough time for a developer to tell you, like, look you in the eye and go, yeah, I'm not going to have this bug worked out like by next weekend. Just pull it. And if by some miracle he does get the bug worked out by next weekend, unban it.
Well, and they do have the pre-tournament, broadcasts in game too. Hey, 10 minutes till the Hex Bash. Why not add into that? If you're playing Wild, please know that Palm of Granted is on our known issues list. See the thread for more details if you have questions.
Or just always have see the known issues list for cards you may have bugged in your decks.
Right. I would hope we get to a point where we live in a world where people aren't constantly having to check that thread. It goes, my card on the list, my card on the list.
I mean, in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. No. We live in a realistic world.
And nothing can ever be perfect in the world of software development, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's just kind of hitting on that a little bit to mention it. I think it's also a little bit concerning because this is the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just reading chat. Hacky says, "I don't agree with banning pomegranate while it's bugged. The degree of severity of this bug, in his opinion, is not bad enough to warrant taking it out of play." And while that is, I believe, true, if you're playing it 2 shards, it's probably not as big of a deal. If you're playing 3 shards and running it, which I don't know why you might, but maybe you are, it's probably a little bit bigger of an issue. The bigger thing is to not think of this as a pomegranate bug, but as a standard operating procedure going forward for any card that gets bugged. Right. Like, you can't just like I know Handy Capable said this before. They took Surprise out. They banned Surprise until they fixed it. Like, you can't treat everything different, or us as players are never going to know what's going to happen. If we know a card gets bugged, a card gets banned for the tournament, we'll know, okay, that card's bugged, can't play it. You got to set the precedent, and you got to move forward with it. Like, if everything gets treated equally, then we as players won't get like broadsided like this. Like, because if I'm under the mind, whatever, the thinkingness of that, oh, if the card's bugged, I'm not going to be allowed to play it, then obviously my deck is fine. And then you go into a tournament and you find out, oh, my card's bugged and not working. It happened to me. I admit it. It happened to me at the beginning of Doombringer when the Ayers were bugged. I read it. I read that the Ayers were bugged and they weren't working, and I totally forgot. And I sideboarded Ayers into my deck that I was playing, and then I took them in the sideboard and game 2, and I was like, gotcha. I went to click that Ayer, and I was like, why can't I target this thing? And I was like, as soon as I clicked it and realized I couldn't play it, I was like, oh, yeah, these are bugged. And it was completely my fault. And I didn't get mad at all because I was like, I totally read that and I totally forgot. But
yeah, hopefully these issues are going to be dwindling down here. So I think this is the second bash within a month where a bug caused drama of some form or another. So I don't want to be talking about this again next week.
I don't want to be talking about it again ever, but yeah. Like, the precedent has to be set, and I feel like, and I'm not saying what I said should definitely 100% be the action Hex Ent takes, but I just feel like those are fair amounts of times to both communicate and like attempt the quick fix. And if the quick fix doesn't happen, I mean, banning it's the fairest way, because you're going to have people that both know it's unusable and know it's usable. And some people are going to try to use it as an advantage, and some people are going to be mad when they realize they can't play their Ire to remove a troop that they really want to remove. So, and I don't think this particular case can be, I don't think the palm bug can be exploited, but we know from the past that there's other bugs that can happen that you can exploit. So you don't want people finding out there's a bug and then purposely building a deck around it and then going, oh, I didn't know. Like, it's a bug, I didn't know. It's like, yeah, your deck kind of like purposely exploits that. And they're like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Like, it's just simpler and easier, no matter how bad it looks, to just remove the card from competitive, like money competitive play. Like, I'm not saying you can't play on the ladder. I'm not saying, but I mean, from at least the tournaments, just nip the problem in the bud.
And on the subject of tournaments, should let everybody know too, reason to stick around is at the end of our stream tonight, we are going to be shoutcasting the one finale of tournaments
that we
this
got
week
saved.
that Hacky, also the one that Hacky didn't do. I
Okay,
mean,
that's fair.
Hacky, God bless Hacky.
Oh, yeah, round of applause for Hacky this weekend.
Huge round of applause for Hacky. Not only does the entire Hex Bash on Saturday, then does the entire Immortal Championship on Sunday. That's some serious. That's
That's a lot of
creation hours. That is a lot of freaking stream time. So, but we grabbed the Clash because that's the only one that Hacky didn't do. So people haven't seen it already somewhere else, and I was able to grab that in Clan on a Sunday night. So we're gonna have that to show off later. But anything else you want to comment on about tournaments right away before we get into kind of a weekly discussion topic?
I just, well, that one thing I told you earlier, I did kind of like, the one thing that came from that Reddit post that I really did agree with was the ability for Hex to possibly add in some like mid-season cards that could either have been developed before the, like with the set or after the set release, to kind of like purposefully impact the meta in better ways, since we are in the digital environment. That was one of the ideas Ali pitched, and I really, is a good this is just complete in my opinion, but like when you see a super stale meta forming, we're a digital company, we're a digital game, you could draft up, even if just 3 or 4, 5 to 10, any number of cards that could possibly like kind of help out some of the decks that are weaker. Not necessarily, I mean, you're not trying to kill off the decks that are being played. You're just trying to give level advantage, which I mean, I know it's not easy. It's a whole another round of balancing and everything, but
all right, and that's kind of one area of concern I think I would have with the idea is that how much dev time goes into making that in the cycle. Like where do you schedule that? And then depending on how you do that, could that become a crutch for bad design where you just go, oh, this card stunk. That's okay. We can print answers halfway in 2 months. And I'm not going to say
true.
the Hex. I'm not going to say I'm not in any way accusing the Hex devs of going to go that route. Just that that potential exists in such a system.
I feel like the cards would probably benefit being designed with the set, just not released with the set, and then just release them a little later.
You held back content, post-release DLC cut from disc.
I mean, true. I mean, you're just feeding right back into what I said about why I don't go. Because no matter what you do, no matter what any company in this industry does, someone will find like just enough of a problem to talk about it. So there's never going to be an end all answer. I'm never going to have an end all answer. You're never going to have an end. Corey's never going to have an end all answer. You just got to do the best you can and hope that the majority of the people feel the same. And if they don't, then do it a little different next time, because it's all we got in this world. You only got one life, and there's no reason to just be scared of doing stuff. You just got to try stuff.
And
that got deep. I'm sorry that got deep, guys.
You gave me a great segue in terms of trying stuff. They showed off on the dev stream last week, and Chris Woods did a stream about it over a weekend, that they are working on a new format, which is Corinth versus Corinth, or I believe, as they're terming it, the Iconoclash, where right now they're setting it up as a tournament because apparently that's the quickest and easiest thing to implement. But please a queue or private challenges so that I can do something like that on Dungeon Masters, please.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're taking, basically all players are going to get 4 of each of the 5 resource types, so 4 blood, 4 diamond, 4 ruby, etc., and the Corinth mercenary, and then bashing off in random shenanigans and deck building the game where all kinds of chaos and insanity are possible. So unfortunately, I was hoping in the Friday update to see some kind of news on a release date for that, considering that they've now showed it off twice, but I guess they weren't ready to commit to a date on that yet. But hopefully, I'm going to cross my fingers that within the next 2 weeks, definitely within a month, we have our hands on Corinth versus Corinth, and we don't know anything about pricing for that. If it's going to be gold or platinum, we don't know anything on prizes. But conceptually, is that the kind of mode you would want to play in Manifesto, or is that too chaos RNG for you?
That's not I would not pay to play in that kind of mode, but I would definitely play that kind of mode. I 2 or 3 weeks ago, I actually did a whole Act 1 playthrough with Cornith with that exact way. Like, just like, people were like, what kind of Cornith deck are you building? I'm like, what are you talking about? Don't you just put 4 of each basic shard in and just like go nuts? And they're like, no, you can put like broom. I don't even remember all of them. They're like, there's like real specific resource combinations you can use to get like optimal draws and stuff. And I was just like, no, definitely not. I'm just going to put 4 basic shards of each color in there and just go completely crazy. So it's definitely something I would play. It's not something I would like gamble with, basically, because I mean, you literally are gambling. So
yeah,
so yes and no. I mean, if it was something like the fight, is it the fight night that's free, right? I always get those confused.
Yeah, it's basically free. It's 3,000 gold.
Yeah, or the singleton. Like,
Singleton is
$1. Okay, so not the fight night. I would probably pay a small amount of gold to play in it. That's fair, but definitely no platinum entry for me, at least. But it's definitely fun playing Cornith with a whole bunch of random resources. It's kind of the closest thing you're going to get to playing the new Shards game in Hex, because you are, at that point, with that much RNG, you are basically making a deck builder game. So it's fun. It's cool. It's just not something I'd gamble real money with. But other than that, I'm on board for the idea, and the fact that it's double RNG. So like, it's not like when you're playing something like, it's not like when you're playing against a conscript deck and you don't have any RNG and they have, you're both just RNGing. Like, what are you gonna get mad at? I mean, you both came in knowing that Kismet's is going to be the only winner here. So,
yep. I'm really looking forward to it, though. I love those kind of random shenanigans. I don't mind winning or losing by that, and just kind of, it creates kind of fun, like, storytelling moments. Man, remember that time this crazy thing happened, and I got well, you're not going to get PvE cards, but I got that when I was playing in PvP. I got Optimatron, which has power. It loses power equal to the number of cards in your deck, but you're only running like a 20 card deck, so it's going to be a 30-30 for like 5 resources or less. And I just got to smash face with it, so I'm looking forward to having fun moments with that. But besides that, they have dubbed that Corinth versus Corinth the first in their, what they're calling their Merry Melee series, where they in the future, over time, they want to do more random fun events like that. And I don't know how much I'm asking you to come up with something on the spot, but do you have any ideas for any other kind of fun Merry Melee type event that you would want to see?
I mean, it kind of goes awfully similar to something else that I do already. It's not too different of ideas that me and Marty already play around with every week on our other show. So I don't know. There's so much you could do. I would love to see mercenary battles, just more mercenary battles. Even if there was a way to get it so you could kind of like Sealed, but with your whole collection. Like, you get to use a mercenary instead, but you have a very limited amount of time to deck build. Or like they throw like a little more like Sealed, where they just throw you like 5 random rares or something, and you got to build a deck in 5 minutes. And you get your pick at whatever any champion you want or anything. There's lots of fun little almost like mini games I could think of. But it's the problem is when you run into like, how do you format that into like a tournament or something like that? Like, what are people willing to do for for AAs and stuff like that. Because we already seen Siege come out, which wasn't, and I don't think has been overly popular. I don't think it was bad. I have fun sieging. I have fun making siege decks, but it's not the every day I come home and do 6 to 10 siege attacks every day like I thought it was going to be. Because I just don't think there's enough there. There's no just getting gold isn't enough for me. Like if there's no ladder for me to climb or like way to show off that I've like really made a good siege or something, like I mean just take any game like League of Legends or any of that, like badges or skins, like you could reskin your keep. So like when people came to attack your keep, if they saw like different flags or different visual things, like just status symbols, like that's all people really want. They just want to be known.
Right.
And no one knows when besides when your siege is active and people see that, oh, that siege got beat, or that siege has beaten people 14 times or 21 times or whatever. Like it's there then, but after that siege is gone, no one knows. You're not you live in minimal 15 minutes of fame instead of a big, like, what do you want to call it? Like
enduring.
You don't get to live in infamy, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
And right now, cosmetics are the only way we have to address that. Until Hex gets some kind of like a profile or gamer card type system where you can see things,
or a better chat where you could have chat badges.
Yeah, I think Siege hasn't taken off more just because of the competitive nature of it, and because it kind of feels like gambling. Even if the impact of it is pretty minimal, like even without the dungeon crawler bonus gold, if you have a successful run of the Frostring Arena, you're pulling in like 8,000 gold, which is enough to have somebody beat your siege defense at the price minimum 8 times. Or if somebody posts a defense at the minimum price and you're only paying 400 gold, you can do a lot of sieging for what it costs to run one Frostring Arena. Mm-hmm. So it's not an expensive mode to get into. It's just that whole psychology of, well, I had to do the arena to get this gold, and now I lost and I don't have my gold anymore. That kind of feel bad moment. And if you're a content creator who's trying to make a siege deck that's not hyper competitive and just exists for fun to have wacky decks,
get crushed all the time.
That just get crushed all the time. Even though 1,000 gold is pretty easy to replace, you feel like you're being punished for creating content. And that's why I think I would love to see 2 different flavors of Siege: the competitive mode as it exists now, and then some non-competitive variant where people don't have to pay in to see your content, and people who do make great defenses can get like upvoted and get some kind of rewards or something for creating content that the community finds fun and engaging. Because I love the idea of Siege, like user-generated PvE content. It's kind of what I've been trying to do in my own way for over a year. So I love the idea. Metronomy, I don't know that we have any stats anywhere on how many Siege games are played on a daily basis.
We don't, because they already asked. I think Fred actually answered this. We asked in the Wardens, and there's no API released on Siege at all, so there's no way to gather any information.
Yeah, I know they don't want people's deck tech going out.
Yeah, there's Fred.
Like for money,
confirming.
For money keeps on the line.
Yeah, and it's definitely not dead, because mine's up and it gets attacked at least every other day. I mean, if you're diligent enough to put it up there and not charge a ridiculous amount to attack it, you will get attacked. People will play, and I feel like you can't be hypocritical. So this is why I still try to attack at least every other day or a couple of times. Like, you can't just have a whole bunch of sieges and be like, man, no one's attacking my siege, this must be dead, and then not also yourself be attacking. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, if everyone just sits on their siege and goes, no one's attacking it, no one must be doing siege, well, everyone who plays siege probably has a defending deck and attacking decks. So if you're one of those people who someone else is saying no one's attacking my siege. So
Yeah,
you gotta contribute yourself.
I have frequently posted mine or some version of mine and then had it torn down within an hour. And so then sometimes I'll put it back up and sometimes I don't because I do them at the price floor just to try to get some activity on it. But I would be more active. It sounded like, and I forget my source, so sorry if I'm wrong. It sounded like one of the things they want to do with Siege going forward is some kind of auto reposting feature where you can say, X number of times or X amount of gold. Here's how many times I want to repost it. So there's a little bit of a safeguard from some person trying to constantly farm you. And if that were to be implemented, then I would post a siege more often. I just say, look, I'm going to budget 15,000 gold a week in 1,000 increments, 20,000. I'd figure out what it is and go, here's how much I'm willing to put out, knowing that I'm going to get wrecked because that's been my trend. Let people have their fun, and then I'll wait another week. But I'd be more active with it from a siege defense standpoint when such a system gets in. But if you have a deck that can beat defenses, that is siege attacking is by far the best way to get account XP because every one of those games counts like a PvP win.
That's like the only benefit besides gold, and that's really what it comes down to. Siege didn't offer us anything besides gold, and it's a gambling system where you could lose gold. And there's three, well, I guess technically two other ways of gaining gold for without risk. Like you don't lose anything whether you win or lose. It's just however good your deck is, that's how fast you can accumulate it. So why gamble your gold in Siege hoping you can beat 3 decks in a row when you can put together a really good FRA or campaign farm deck and just guarantee yourself X amount of gold per hour?
I gotta respond to Crafty Dog in chat here. Thrawn, I would think that with your skills you'd be able to make decks that would be hard to beat. I'm so glad that one person in chat believes in my skills because I don't. I mean, Dungeon Masters of Entrath, I choose flavor and thematics over raw power most of the time, and I give myself the I can use rares when you can't, or I can use legendaries when you can't lever, to counterbalance the fact that I'm not that great a deck builder. So sometimes I will just throw raw power at you because people frequently show up with decks that I'm not anticipating and just wipe the floor with me, which is fine. I mean, I want people to win. If I won all the time on Dungeon Masters of Entrath, that wouldn't be a very entertaining game show. It'd just be, oh look, here's Thrawn stroking his ego on a Tuesday night again, beating up the little people, or something. So gotta keep it relatively fair and fun. But yeah, I guess we kind of segued into Siege. But anything else you wanted to throw up on that topic?
I don't think so. I think that's Oh, good. Fred just said Hex just dropped an article addressing bugs. Would you like to pull up that article and read it?
Hex just made an article on bugs while we had time discussing bugs. Would you like to know more?
We are right before we end our segment on bugs.
If I can read that in my best Starship Troopers voice. Would you like? Bugs are a real problem. Would you like to know more? So this is hot off the press. A discussion about bugs, and none of us have probably read this because it just came up. So let's read together. Greeting Hexers. There's been some discussion in the community surrounding bugs and how they relate to competition. We've been following this conversation closely as we care deeply about competitive play. Today we want to step in and clarify our policies surrounding bugs as well as address the current issues with Palm of Granite. It's like we were talking about that card. To do so, we first need to dive into some light terminology. Broadly speaking, there are 2 categories of error that can occur in Hex: bugs and exploits. Colloquially, the term bug is often used to refer to all forms of odd software behavior, but internally this has a specific meaning. A bug is any software issue that has either a neutral effect or a negative effect on the person triggering the bug. This differs from an exploit, which has a negative effect on the triggering player's opponent. This difference is key as it impacts I think that should be impacts. How we address these issues. For exploits, standard procedure is to temporarily ban as soon as the exploit has been verified by QA. However, for bugs, we sometimes allow players to include these cards in their deck as they wish. The reason for this is twofold. First, banning all bugged cards, as some players have suggested, is impractical. Bugs have varying degrees of severity. In extreme cases, like triggering a client crash, we will utilize temporary bans on a bugged card, but otherwise they can have a huge range of impact on a game. Many bugs don't significantly disturb the flow of the game, and blanket bans for these cases would prevent players from using the cards if they so choose. Our policy is thus to inform and let players decide for themselves. I think there'd be some discussion on how well they are engaging in the informing and letting players decide for themselves aspect of things, but we'll keep going here. Second, as bug cards are typically only affect the user, we want the choice to be in the player's hands on whether to use a bugged card or not. A player may be fine using a problematic card in one mode and not the other, as they have full control over the inclusion in the card in their deck. Our policy is to keep a current list of known issues and let each player make the final call. With regards to the Palm of Granite bug, this is something that we have been working on for some time. For those who don't know already, Palm of Granite currently will sometimes play the wild shard that ends up in your hand. This has been a high priority issue as we recognize the card is played in a number of high profile decks, but it has taken some time to fix as it is a complicated problem that touches on some underlying core systems. It has taken us a while to find a good solution that won't impact other cards in a negative manner. Thankfully, we are close. We built out a solution last Friday, but it needs to be tested extensively and greenlit before we can pass the fix on to everyone. Finally, I want to end with a reminder that we do care about bugs. Our team spends a great deal of time every day fixing ongoing issues. If it has taken a while for a specific bug to be addressed, it is often because the fix is more complicated than it may seem on the surface. In addition, our team is also hard at work bringing you new and exciting features. For example, the Merry Melee, a new Corinth versus Corinth mode, is around the corner, and we have been making good progress on cosmic coins and other reward systems to make the ladder and siege more enjoyable for everyone. These special currencies will allow players to get a variety of exclusive rewards, including all new cosmetics. I'm guessing then that there's going to be more than just cosmetics because they say a variety of rewards. First, we have fresh battle boards as part of this system, concept art depicted below. Sanctum of Suffering battle boards. This hits me where I live because I've purchased every single battle board, and I use these a lot for Dungeon Masters of Entrath for the flavor. So we have a new Sanctum of Suffering battle board. We will also be introducing a whole new class of cosmetics. We'll replace the coin flip at the beginning of each game with an epic alternate of your choosing. So we're gonna have AA coins, I guess.
Yep, basically.
We will dive into these rewards and how you earn them in greater detail when we are ready to roll out these systems, but think they will address some of the concerns you have about any incentive to climb the ladder outside of the Cosmic Crown Showdown. See you on the battlegrounds, the Hex team.
Note they also said in siege mode too, which is
say,
exactly what we were just talking about.
They did say siege mode as well. So this is hot off the press. Alternate art coin flips, at least one new battle board. I'm going to assume more than one, but they don't want to give away everything at once. But yeah, so there you have it. That's their statement on bugs. I definitely think there's my initial gut reaction is the sentence I highlighted on screen here. Our policies to thus inform players and let them decide for themselves. Room to improve there.
A little bit.
I think you have to be pretty diligent about there's a lot of onus on the player to be checking that known issues thread to figure out what a card is and then decide for themselves. But
gin and tonic. Yeah, I mean, they aren't the most exciting thing, but the battle boards are nice, and if that means there's also going to be sleeves coming too.
Battle boards are hot. They know people like sleeves. The bug with Palm of Granite Scaminator was that...
No, that's not what he's talking about. He's having a conversation with Metronomy as
Gotcha.
well.
I thought he was talking about what the Palm of Granite bug was, but if that's not...
And I also don't, I don't know. Like, so if you scroll down a little bit, where was it? Where they said they're talking about the no, that's way too much. When they're talking about the difference between the bug and the exploit, where like
this paragraph right
like
here.
they basically they said that they would ban an exploit, but they wouldn't ban a bug. And they said that bugs only impact, or where is it? A bug is any software that has either a neutral effect or a negative effect on the person triggering
on you.
I mean, I guess that's fair. That's true then. I just don't. Okay, so here's the thing. So like with Pomegranate, you're still gonna get a wild shard. But like when the Eyres were bugged, you just couldn't play them. Technically that's a neutral effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but it
hits everybody equally.
It's not. I mean, like you basically just let a player add a dead card to their deck in a money tournament. Like, it's not. There's no feel neutral about that. It's just negative.
Right,
and just
so this does kind of clarify a little bit more than when they're going to ban. I mean, a bug screws
I agree.
you, an exploit screws your opponent, and that's where they're going to take more action in.
And I agree with the letting the players play it in different formats, because like I said, like you could be fine playing a bug card in Frostwing Arena. Maybe you just don't care enough to change your deck around and resave it, and then when the bug's fixed, to go back. But money tournaments, in my mind, money tournaments are just too touchy of an issue and too easily blown out of proportion. Or not out of proportion, like unnecessarily, but like if someone was like, this card bugged me and I lost my perfect arena run, no one's going to care. And at the same time, if a player says the same exact card bugged and I lost $500 because of it, people are going to care.
Right.
Like, why even play with that fire? Like, money tournaments, bug cards, just don't use them. Like, it's just safe for everyone.
I'm gonna have
but
to...
again, this is all me and Thrawn's IMO, not taken as gospel or even correct. It's just our opinions on it.
Right, but it's important to bring the stuff up and talk about it, and try to give the developers feedback when we can too, and not be unblinking corporate shills who never are going to criticize anything about the game or something. Although on a positive note, this battle board is sick, and I'm going to have to build some decks to make use of that.
All right, so let's try to get back on track here.
Yeah, so I think we kind of went where we want to in terms of just like other game modes and stuff. Did you want to move on to cards of the week?
I suppose. I believe it's giveaway time.
Do you have stuff? Because Dino has not dropped codes on me for this week.
I got stuff. I always have stuff to give out. I mean, even if I gotta buy some packs, we can do some giveaways.
I mean, I can give away your stuff. I have stuff of my own that I'm going to be giving out for one of our other special features, and thankfully there's nothing dangerous on screen.
I thought that's what we were talking about. Are we not on the same page? We may not be on the same page.
We're talking about your concept of talking about a few cards a week.
Oh yeah, and I thought we were going to run that in parallel with the Guess the Thing.
Yes.
Which was what I was talking about for the giveaway.
Kind of yes, but my scenes are a little bit awkward for this.
That's fine. So one second, I got a big at me, so I got to read some chat for a second.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I will kind of fill chat fam in on what's going on here now. We have two segments going on that we're going to be doing every week that are different but kind of work in parallel. Where we have cards of the week, where we're going to pick a specific type of card, and then call out a couple different kinds of cards that we like within that type. So this week we each picked out 3 Ruby troops that we like, and so we're going to talk about those specific cards and kind of why we like them. And it could be any reason you want. It could be constructed relevance. It could be art. It could be some fun random effect. There's no criteria on it. It's just pick 3 within a criteria and let's talk about it. while that's going on, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to do my scenes better for this for next week because they're located in two different places. So there's going to be a little bit of bouncing back and forth. We also have another segment called "What's That Card," which I was just thinking back to like the old Pokemon anime that I watched obsessively as a kid, and in that at commercial breaks they'd have the silhouette of "What's that Pokemon," and of course you'd have to guess what it is. Well, we're doing "What's That Hex Card," where I'm going to show you pieces of the art of a hex card, and you have to figure out what that card is. And if you think you know, you should at me in chat at Thrawn Omega with the name of the card, and the first person to correctly name the card is going to basically get an Evo pack from me. I don't have a code, so you're going to be getting 2 Doombringer packs and 100 plat, which is a lot because I only have like 113 plat left. So you're getting like all the money I have left practically. But so we're going to start with, I'm going to put up clue number 1. You can see that above manifesto there. Is your first clue as to what some of the art is.
I don't see it
yet. Yeah, you're affected on stream delay like everyone else. And
so while we're talking about the cards?
Yeah. So this is where things get awkward because I have to pull up my Hex client, and then I want to use my client to show off the cards we're talking about. And the "What's That Card" isn't in the Hex view, so I'm going to fix that for next week, but I didn't think about that correctly.
There's the clue. Okay, clue's there. We don't have to show the card. I'm pretty sure most does.
Well, if it's an obvious one, maybe we don't. Which of your cards did you want to talk about first?
I'll kick it off. My first Ruby troop that is near and dear is a common. It's not a standard playable card, but it is Emberleaf Evoker.
Look above.
It is the
look above manifesto.
5/5 trampler. 5/5 crusher. Sorry, that's the one that always gets me. 5/5 crush for 7, I believe, right? And every time you attack, or for every damage dealt to an opposing champion, it gets 1 reduced cost. And this is my first troop because, for one, I mean, look at that. That card is just straight beautiful. Secondly, it is. Oh, sorry, it's a 5/3. I misspoke.
Yep, I put it up on stream here.
And on the one hand, it just shows off some lovely digital space, and it works so well with what Ruby tries to do with its aggro decks, that you can still get a high-end card out early by giving it a reduced cost, and by doing already what the deck should be doing. I know it doesn't get a lot of play in the constructed scene, and especially now because it's rotated out, but I play this card a lot in PvE, and it's one of my favorite, Ruby troops. It's really all there is to say about that one.
Since you started with a Ruby common, I will start with my Ruby common, Rock Slider. So, come on, baby. So shameless self-promotion. I spoiled this card on the very first ever episode of Dungeon Masters of Entrath, so it is a little bit near and dear to me for those entirely selfish reasons. But there are legit reasons that I call out this card. When you gain a charge, it gets +2 attack and crush for the turn. We just had the card come out, and the name is failing me, but the one where you deal 3 damage to yourself and you gain 3 charges, that would make this guy a 7/4 crush when that one's played. Ooh. And, we can only assume as more sets come out, there's going to be more cards that play in that gain a charge space. So this guy has a lot of PvE and even immortal potential as more and more cards come out that do things with charge gain. You want to keep an eye on, if you have the ability to gain multiple charges in a turn, this guy's nuts. And that 4 defense means he's not going to topple over to just anything too. He's got some sturdy defense. So I don't think he ever saw a whole ton of constructed play, and he was kind of hard to work into and limited. But This is a card to keep an eye on. I think just going forward for different modes, it could see relevance again someday.
I also like that's one of my archetypes I go back to every set is to try to make a charge, like a charge building deck, just to see if it's relevant again.
Yeah, I ran, since Deja brings up the Brood Ambrosia in this arena deck that I have up. I got my only two Brood Ambrosia I got in the same arena run. After running dozens of runs and getting none, I literally lucked into two at once.
Don't you get two for being grand? Don't you always get double PvE rewards?
Yes, but the bonus rewards are random rolled like everything else, so you're not gonna get guaranteed duplicates like that.
All right. So my second card is constructed playable, and we see it pretty much, and that would be the Primordial Sabertooth.
Let's bring up the better version of the card, that sexy.
Agree to disagree. I like the original art more personally, but on top of being
you picked it, so there you go.
On top of but you can't read what this.
Yeah, but you know what the card does.
Just
fine.
Press that. All right, so it's a 5/4 speed. It all the primordials are double-edged swords. They none of them look playable at the beginning, but it's the little basic 2-cost shuffle back into your deck ability that makes all these cards, well, not all the cards shine, but this card particularly shine, that you can run a 7-cost 5/4 with speed and deploy, deal 5 damage to your opposing troop as a troop, but in those really awkward situations where you're opening hand, you're just hating life because you think you have a dead card in your hand. You don't. You have this. You actually have a 2-cost deal 5 damage remove. Basically, it deals with almost anything you're going to see before turn. What, 4 or 5, maybe 5. It's just a great card. It's a well-rounded card. It's obviously good because you're hard pressed to find a Ruby deck that's not running it.
It's super good as removal or as a game-ending troop if you can slap that baby on the table.
But it's one of those things that just it's not exactly taking advantage of digital space because you could easily play this as a paper form too. But it's just really good card construction. I think all of the primordials they did a great job with, but I just really like cards that I'm not stuck into playing at a specific time, that have a little bit of leniency in the when you can play it and when you're going to use it to impact the game.
Mm-hmm.
My face when I realized primordials isn't actually a type of card.
Type. Yeah, there's several primordials. So I'm gonna pull up my second one, which I think this is probably my favorite elf in the history of Hex. Sting Shot. And this baby's not standard legal anymore.
You should probably put up another one of your hints too.
Oh yeah, I got. I was thinking about staggering how I do the timeline on that, but.
So just do it all at the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it
better.
I'm gonna do it all at the end.
All right.
Because after what's your card, we have
That's
we
it.
have kind of hot take and bold predictions of the week, so I can put those up there. So my second card is Sting Shot Sniper, which is a flight and empower troop.
Oh yeah, empower. That's a fun.
Empower was one of my favorite keywords. I love drafting Empower in the heyday of Primal Dawn. So you could play this for 3 or basically for 6. If you paid it for 6, all of its stats were double. When this attacks, this deals damage equal to its power to a random opposing champion or troop. And even though it's random, you're rarely unhappy about that because it slapped something that can change what your opponent's thinking for combat math. If that doesn't kill something, that could entirely take one blocker off the board. If you hit your opponent in the face with it, you could basically be hitting them with it twice. If you take the risk and throw a combat trick on that pre-combat, give it +3/+3, and suddenly you're swinging in and slapping 5 damage to something. This is just a really good card, and the gloves on it too for the PvE players out there. When a ranger you control attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to a random opposing champion or troop. So basically, any kind of ranger subtype you can fit into the deck, it's giving this ability to all of those cards as well.
Yeah. And Empower kind of works like like you like that card for like the opposite reason I love the card Primordial, because you don't have a feel bad moment if you draw that on. You're not just holding a 3 cost, you're now holding a 6 cost 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, I love that. I just love it.
This also
All right.
had the dubious distinction too, whenever you were running it, that it was immediate removal bait.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had other good stuff, you could throw the Sting Shot Sniper to the wolves and know that you were going to bait out a piece of removal out of your opponent's hand, and maybe work some other kind of strategy because they knew the sniper would work them if they didn't get taken out.
All right, and my third card, legendary, no longer constructed playable, Reginald Lancashire.
Good old Reggie.
He is just and I don't even know if I even played him when he was really good. I don't think I could afford him. He was expensive, but it's just the effect. It's just straight up this was in set 2, right? Second set?
No, this is the first set.
Shared the This is first. Yep. And this was like, so obviously we were all just discovering Hex, and it was just like one of those, wow, this company, this card game has the potential to do so much. And this was one of those first cards for me that was just like an eye-opener of what the difference in digital space could make for a TCG.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we were all young and impressionable and, you know...
Slipping that secondary kill condition into your opponent's deck.
Just... And that moment when you play that and they just top deck it, and you're just like, calculated, 100% planned.
For our podcast listeners down the road, Reginald's text is, when Reginald Lancashire deals damage to an opposing champion, put Reggie in their deck. He gets, when he enters your hand or crypt, reveal him, destroy you. So if they draw him, they're dead. And then each champion draws 3 cards, so they have a 3 in however many cards are left in their deck chance of finding the bomb that kills them.
Plus, you just get to draw 3 cards off them too.
I would love to see more cards that have this kind of, if you draw it, something horrible happens to you, so that I can make a Hex deck and name it Exploding Kittens, and basically be putting bombs in my opponent's deck and trying to kill them that way.
I mean, we had that. They nerfed it. It was called Caramel.
Yeah, that's true. And they had the PvE booby traps that were never terribly that scary.
Yeah, they kind of moved away from them before they really became a thing. All right, your last card.
My last card was a limited bomb in its day, and I still think, the Frostheart cycle hasn't helped it because there haven't been much for Arden or Underworld troops. But my final card for the week is Pulverizer, which is a 5-cost rare. It's an Orc Rogue. Speed. When it deploys, troops you control get Rage 1 for each different Ardent race among troops you control. It's an Orc. Worst case scenario playing this guy is that you're giving all of your troops Rage 1, because Orcs are the only Ardent race you have. But if you've got, a human out there and like an elf, and it's easy to have an elf in Ruby and easy to find humans in Ruby, you could easily be giving things Rage 2, Rage 3, and just slam over and suddenly deal massive amounts of damage. And Nazar, we're not talking about best cards, just cards that we like of a specific criteria.
They're personal favorites for really any reason we want.
Any reason we want. Because if we're picking, for example, if we went, pick your top 3 wild cards, Palm of Granite, pick the decks from the... We'll figure things out for next week. I mean, if we were only talking like what are the best of the best, plus everybody kind of, if you're following the meta, what some of the best are. So we wanted to kind of have different...
personal
ideas.
reasons or things that impacted Hex or like things that made you love the game or just like really awesome art, things like that.
Yeah, I brought back up our Talking Heads view, so you can see above Manifesto's camera the first piece of the art for What's That Card this week. And I'm going to bring up the second piece of art, which is right by, I'm going to put this between us, between our cameras. So you've got two different pieces of the art, and whoever correctly asks me what that card is first is going to get 2 Doombringer boosters and 100 plat from me, from my personal stash. No, I am...
First guess was wrong.
The first guess was wrong.
It was engrossed
yeah,
bibliophile.
It's not engrossed bibliophile.
I was doing my Betty White on the side.
Yeah.
Not Betty White. What's her name?
There are...
Ava.
Dead Jack got it. Murmurs from the Void. So this was going to be the third clue. It was going to be the candelabra there.
Dang, you got
Yeah,
that quick.
That was fast. That's the whole card art right there. I'll give it to Dead Jack because I saw that in chat. But if it had, I wanted people. Yeah, look at everybody. At Fred trying to snipe there. I wanted it at me because then I get the red like, hey, you need to take a look at this, and that makes it easier for me to pull out. But I caught the Dead Jack saw it first. So, Dead Jack, is your in-game name? What is your in-game name? So I know where I need to send a mail later. I might actually still be Dead Jack, but let's confirm so I don't send somebody else your swag.
Man,
But that is the original card art there. IGN is Dead Jack. Okay.
I need to know, were you looking through cards or did Dead Jack? Because when he showed me the clues, I didn't even get it. I was like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, especially since
Mythical book.
the only
Like-
hint I'm going to give about next week is next week I'm going to pick a card that's in standard to make it a little bit easier for people. But I already had the high res of this on my computer because it was one of my favorite pieces of art in the game. So it's like, I'm just going to chop this one up and use this for the first episode of What's That Card. But so that's something we're going to do
Whoa.
every week is just to give you all a card, try to figure out what it is, and win some swag.
And for a bonus plat, you have to say what the artist's name is within 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to. I wouldn't even be able to fact check that quickly. I'd have to pull things up. But all right, so that's cards of the week, and that's What's That Card. Those are kind of recurring things that we're going to be bringing up. And now, next, this is going to be a quick hit because nobody sent us stuff. But I want to call attention here. I need to get the forums back up here, and then I'll cut back to internet view. On the official forums, in the Hex discussion thread, which is the most trafficked section of the forums, you will find a pinned thread here: Top Deck Radio, viewer mail, and plays of the week submissions. You can also, send us Twitter messages and stuff, but this is a nice way to do things because if you have a Hex account, you can post in the forums. We would like to do a weekly Ask Thrawn / Ask Manifesto segment where you ask us questions. They can either be silly questions or serious questions, and then we'll try to read those and answer those on stream. So for an example of a serious question I posted is, Thrawn and Manifesto, what are your thoughts on the draft format and any decks you like going for? That'd be a more serious question we could talk about. Or if you're feeling creative and you want to be a little bit more silly, we'll take silly questions too, as long as they don't, stray into inappropriate territory. My silly example was, Dear Thrawn and Manifesto, I'm a very lonely dingler. Pusid shot me with arrows 6 times this year and I still haven't found the one. Can you say anything to give me hope? Signed, Very Lonely Dingler. So,
I feel like you're reaching out for someone.
It was just the first thing that came into my mind as a really stupid.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
Is a really stupid question. But yeah, so you can post here. And for plays of the week, I have a video of mine that I'm going to be showing off because I think it's probably the most current one around. But the intent is not, for me or Manifesto to be showing off our own stuff every week. We want to feature other highlights from around the community. So if you have a YouTube video you made that's great, if you have a stream, moment that you highlighted or clipped because it was really cool, link us that stuff too, so we can show off other content creators and other cool things that are happening in the Hex world. Post that here, so that we can comb through some of that stuff and show that stuff off. And like I said, I'm going to show one of my own videos this week, just because a lot of people probably aren't aware of all the formats on our show and what we're doing, and may not have realized that there's a good way to submit this stuff to us yet, or even have thought to try to capture some of that stuff. J.R. Lawton, how soon are you going to be streaming 7 days a week on the Hex TCG channel? That is not going to happen, because there is such a thing as too much of a good thing, and I would need to. I think I'd get burned out on Hex if I was streaming every single day. But yeah, 2 days a week is probably good for me, especially since I'm doing Dungeon Masters of Entrath on Wednesday on my own channel. That's call that about 7 to 8 hours of streaming Hex in 3 days.
For other non-forum users like myself, you can tweet any questions or links to me as well, or either of us really, but you don't have to use the forums if you don't feel like going to that place. We will accept your questions via Discord or Twitter or Twitch whispers if that's all you got. If you're a non-social media savvy person.
Yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind. We wanted to shout it out because we don't have any viewer questions or anything that kind of came in prearranged to use as discussion topics. But otherwise, we are winding down the audio podcast portion of the show, and then that would be made available via audio later, and then we'll get into some stuff that's really exclusively of value to you if you can watch it as a video. So I'm going to switch us kind of back over to Talking Heads frame here. And one of the last bits we do is kind of our hot take or bold predictions of the week, where we can just kind of say anything that's on our mind about what we think is going to be coming up in Hex, anything that grinds our gears that we want to talk about. The segment is very free form. Whatever we want to go with it, or any idea that we had that we wanted to talk about that didn't fit very well elsewhere. So Manifesto, any kind of hot take, bold prediction, anything you want to prognosticate to the internet about Hex this week?
You know what really grinds my gears? I honestly, I don't think I have really a whole lot this week. I would predict that if Hex doesn't do something themselves about momentum, that someone is going to brew it's gotta happen soon. If there is an anti-momentum deck that can still hold its own decently against aggro and sugar, it's going to come this week. That's my prediction, is that someone is going to sit down, and maybe it just doesn't exist, but if it does, I think we'll see it next week. Shh, Naz, don't tell them. They saw me practicing with it earlier.
Yeah, mine. So I'm gonna make a prediction, and then kind of give a hot take. I like making predictions sometimes because then I can look back on things months later and go, either nailed it or I was completely wrong. So I'm gonna spew forth onto the internet my prediction for if Hex does 3 people as Exalted again. I have predictions on who those 3 people are going to be, and
right.
If they do, I think they do it around August. And I want a prediction on record early because I'm going to be out of the country for half of August, and I'm not even going to be around when they make the predictions. But if they keep the same 3 arbitrary categories they had last year, where they had technical for like community elect stuff like that, it's got to be Fred for Hex PvP tools. For community, my money's on Hacky for the insane amount of time and effort he puts into tournament streaming, because that is an insane amount of time to be volunteering for the benefit of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And for player, my guess on that would be Coach Flipperon for all the PvE stuff and all the other behind the scenes stuff that he does with Wardens Entrath and organizing all of that. So That's my money for the three, if there are three, and we'll find out in months if I called it correctly or if I am completely wrong across the board. But it's going to be Fred, Hacky, and Coach Flipron. If I was going to be a guessing man.
I think those are fair.
Um,
I'm thinking Dylon, 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 and Dylon because he spits out five. Obviously, I think, but I agree. I think Fred and Coach are. I mean, I'm not gonna say the word shoo-in, but Fred probably is. I would assume. I don't. I'd be hard pressed to find someone that does as much as Fred who isn't already exalted.
yeah, Fred says
Yeah.
he'd put Coach's community. And there's a lot of
That's fair,
community.
too.
There's a lot of stuff there, but I put him as player because PVE requires playing, and I needed a spot for Hacky, so that's why I'm putting Hacky in community because of like the tournament stuff is
And he's
for the
far
community.
too humble to suggest himself, even though I definitely see that being a fair choice as well.
Yeah, to go on stream on the official channel and say my bold prediction is I get exalted this year. God, that'd be the most arrogant thing I could ever do.
No, but
Like-
I mean, I personally know how much work into your show as well. I would not be surprised to see your names in the mumblings of the Hex devs when they decide.
If you ever hear me say the words "I deserve to be exalted," I want you to shoot force lightning through the internet and just fry me.
All right, you guys heard it. I am allowed to murder if he ever says it.
Because that would be my ego inflating to insane degrees, and I'm not like that. But then
Speaking of letting our egos inflate to insane degrees.
oh yeah, you want to bring up your news?
Oh well, yeah. I
Or
mean,
did you have
I guess.
something? Do you have something else about egos?
Well, I'm just following your list, and now would be about the time where we do our shameless plugs before we end the audio part. So.
Okay, well, I did have one discussion topic I wanted to bring.
Oh, you
up
do have one more.
in hot takes.
Oh,
And
hot
that's
takes.
that it's kind of a bold prediction too, but I think 2018 is the year that Hex reboots themselves in terms of new player experience. We've already seen some proof of that because they have Clippy, excuse me, Calliope, in the game as like a tool to help provide tips in at least their dev builds. So something like that's coming. But it really came to me, especially for the PlayStation 4, that I started from Bronze 5 on my PlayStation account. I went all the way to Silver 1 using a rock deck. I only lost one match, and the one match was to a PlayStation player who I got paired up. They were Platinum, and they were running card for card the Livanth Collector's deck. There was only one other PlayStation 4 player that was running a 60-card deck. Otherwise, I came across 62, I came across 67, 70, 111, 220 something. Like there's a huge knowledge gap, I think, on how well they're trained by the game, and they don't have the PvE campaign like PC players do as a valve to have a more gradual onboarding. It's just here's the tutorial, here's the battle pit if you want with some precon decks, but really go fight in the ladder. And so then I wanted to see from an official standpoint from Hex Entertainment themselves, how much documentation do they have out there in the wild about how to play their game? And so one thing I did is I went to the Hex Shards of Fate YouTube page, and I wanted to see, does Hex Entertainment on their own YouTube page have anything on how to play the game? And I'll give you the answer, but do you think they have anything on how to play the deck on their YouTube page?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
I bet they do, but I bet it's from I bet it's old.
You'd be exactly correct. They have it, and it's old. This is Hex how to play. I have it muted because the audio is not relevant here. You'll know.
Oh boy!
You'll know.
I just looked over and saw it was on my screen.
Okay, I'll shrink that back down again. You'll note how ancient the AI is on this. Like, they've updated the UI at least twice since this video came out, because their How to Play Hex video came out June 13th, 2014.
Ooh.
they are obscenely due for a refresh. Like, in my opinion, this video needs to be deleted and then replaced with an entirely new how to play Hex video with the current UI, more current cards and stuff. And they need to have some videos on their personal page, especially with the PlayStation 4 client and marketed to PlayStation 4 people. Hey, thanks for downloading our game. Here's some tips and tricks and stuff. And I mean, it depends on how fancy you want to get with video editing and stuff. If you're okay with just a really basic video of somebody, firing up the modes, talking about things and clicking through, you can make those videos in a day. If you want to get really, much more busy with here's your fancy schmancy, here's our Hex logo, here's some video, here's who I am. I'm going to be talking to you about the gameplay. All that would definitely make things take longer. But I don't think it's a big time.
The fonts.
Yeah, look at the fonts, look at the formatting, and just I don't think it's a huge time ask to trash
I
this.
do miss when our champion looked like that, though.
Like, I was thinking about like Frontier Development, who make Elite Dangerous, which is a space sim. They have extensive tutorials on their personal page about how to play the game because it is complicated as heck. And
the stack used to be on the side of the screen.
Yeah, and, your phase indicators were in the middle, like what part of the turn it was. So yeah, I'm so used to the new UI, and your thresholds were in weird spots. It's I've completely forgotten about this AI, but yeah, this is the world we lived in back in 2014. So,
yeah, we know that there's plenty player-made ones, but what we're talking about is there's no official one.
Right,
like,
I'm saying that,
like a new player on the PlayStation would never Google Hex Manifesto's how to play Hex TCG. They're just gonna Google Hex TCG or Hex Shards of Fate. How do this?
Right, and so that I think this one. I mean, if you want to talk about things to help onboard players, this is really a low-hanging fruit thing you can do. Is get a how to play video that's newer than almost 4 years, please and thank you.
At least.
But yeah, that's it. That's my hot take.
Hot take.
But yeah, then shameless plug time. And
yeah, that's right.
We're not done with. By the way, we're not done with the stream, folks. We do shameless plugs before the end of the stream, because then we stop the audio portion and just do stuff that's strictly video.
Fred even hit something you even missed. They wouldn't even Google Hex Shards of Fate. They would have to Google Hex Card Clash,
right?
And they wouldn't even find that video.
Right. Well, and it's buried at the very end. It's buried at the very, very bottom of their entire history of videos. Because you've got all the Chris Wood stuff. You have to go way, 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 way down in their history. And honestly, if Hex Entertainment wants to do themselves a favor, you've got your Hex Dev Stream playlist here. You've got Hex tournaments. You need another playlist right front and center. How to play. Put that on top of your dev streams. Put that on top of your tournaments. Just how to play this game. And I think for lazy people Googling, that'd be a nice quick hit resource for you.
I like how your related channels of match.
Yeah, Noxious.
They're the worst.
Well, hey, Jeff Hoogland and Hex Havoc, those are relevant. I'm not as familiar with the others. Sadly, I'm not listed here, but that's because my YouTube videos record hits in the single digits.
Sames.
So, YouTube demonetized me, but I wasn't making money anyway. So yeah, but shameless plugs. You has any?
Me?
Yep.
Am I starting?
Shameless plug time. You start.
Shameless plug time. All right. So if you guys haven't watched me over on my stream, you can catch me at twitch.tv/hex_manifesto, just like it says over my head right here. That's also where you can find me if you put a little @ in front of it on Twitter. And yeah, it's a bad week to plug myself because I'm going to be out of town this weekend and next week because I'm going to see a Star Wars Symphony, and then I'm going to see Streetlight Manifesto play in New Jersey. So unfortunately, these aren't the two best weeks to catch me. I will be streaming as much as I can. It will be 2 of my slower weeks, but I will definitely be around when I can be. And
You're
I
still
guess
around Monday next week, right? I don't need to find
no,
a guest host for
I will.
episode 2.
No, we're fine on Mondays. I just had to push. I had to cancel my other one, which I guess I'll allow people. Follow me, yeah, but don't expect me. Thanks. We unofficially announced on Friday. I have another show that is Hex related, but not me just sitting there playing Hex. Called the Shardsworn Showdown, which is me and Streetlight Manifesto. Tell me you're a Pixies fan, of course. I'm also a Streetlight Manifesto fan. You can see it right over my head there. There it is. Got the whole backdrop. Don't try to follow me on Xbox. I'm not there either. No, I'm not. And I'm RPS Chef on PlayStation, so don't try to follow me at Hex Manifesto. But the news is that we have also been picked up by the main channel, Marty Punker and I. So the Shardsworn Showdown will now be a Friday show every week on the main channel starting January, February, March, April, May. Yes, May 11th. So
Woo.
May 11th, you will be able to find me and Marty doing our Shardsworn Showdown shenanigans here, the same place, almost the same time, 7:30. I think we're going to be still starting it up, same as we have been, but on this channel now, so we don't have to do the swapping back and forth. And anyone interested in that I'm not going to waste time here. You can go on Twitter and look at the Shardsworn Showdown hashtag and check out all of our past episodes. There's links and all that good stuff. The Shardsworn Showdown. Exactly.
Yep. PvP under your own version of mercenary rules.
Yeah, basically, this sums it up pretty good. It's PvP made PvE. But the best part is watching me and Marty just kind of trash talk the whole show. So it's really the biggest thing I missed about playing with people, so I decided I was going to force it.
Right.
Just make someone play with me every week.
Yeah. Well, hey, I've done the same. I invented Dungeon Masters of Entrat to find a way to force people to play wacky, non-competitive, non-tournament decks under different rules. So that I could get my casual kitchen table fix in, because TCG players tend to be so EV minded that it's kind of hard to sometimes just get pickup games like that. But you can find me on the official channel tomorrow night, starting at the same time that we did tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, and I usually will run for about 3 hours, taking on challengers. I have 5 different formats. So you can pick one of the formats that appeals to you most and challenge me there, and win some sweet swag from my collection, or things that people have donated to me for use. So that's my shameless plug of the week. Anything else you think we should add before I stop recording the audio portion and we show people some videos?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. Well, then
do a little shoutcasting and then tuck these guys in for the night.
Yeah. So if you've been listening to this via audio podcast, I don't yet know when this is actually going to be live to download as an audio podcast. I'm going to be figuring that out.
I bet it's by the time they're hearing this, though.
Late tonight or tomorrow. Yeah. If you're hearing this, I figured it out. I want to thank you for hanging out with us, and we will catch you next week.